Lorena stepped out of the apartment building into the fresh May morning. The air was fragrant with blooming lilacs. The sky was clear and bright. Summer was just around the corner. Her 3-year-old son, Adam, was already at kindergarten, taken there by her husband, Tyler. Tyler worked as a programmer and often worked remotely from home. He was not just a wonderful husband, he was caring, kind, attentive, and, most importantly, understanding. When Lorena returned from work tired, he didn't need to be told. He would silently make tea, prepare a cosy nest on the sofa with a blanket and pillow, and take Adam to another room so Lorena could have some quiet time. Lorena's job was stressful but rewarding. She worked as an endocrinologist in a private medical centre. The only downside was that she had to combine her medical duties with paperwork. Usually she could find time during the day to fill out the necessary documents, but not always. But yesterday patients kept coming in a steady stream, so Lorena had to take the report home. The next morning, Lorena had almost reached her car when she remembered that she had left the report at home. Thank goodness she remembered in time. Lorena turned around and hurried back to the apartment building. She bounded up the steps, her heart racing, quickly unlocked the door to her apartment and went into the kitchen. Suddenly, she heard a muffled conversation coming from their bathroom. Tyler was on the phone with someone, engrossed in the conversation. It must be about work, but his tone was strange, tender, almost cooing. Lorena picked up the report and tiptoed towards the bathroom. She froze outside the door and listened. "Gwen, dear, you know I have work to do, but I'll definitely come see you on the weekend. What do you want me to bring you?" Lorena couldn't believe her ears. Tyler, her caring and attentive husband, was talking to another woman with such tenderness and love. "Yes, darling, I miss you so much. I love you too." There was so much tenderness and love in Tyler's voice that Lorena's heart ached with longing and jealousy. She had always thought they had a perfect family, that their relationship was special, harmonious, reliable and sincere. She had even been surprised that such a thing was possible. And now it turned out it was all an illusion. Tyler was just pretending to be the perfect husband and father, using his flexible schedule as a cover for his affair. How else could she explain this strange phone conversation? Lorena turned around and walked towards the exit. She had heard enough. Her blood was pounding in her temples, her face was hot, but her hands were strangely cold. Somehow she managed to quietly slip out of the apartment. In the comfort of her beloved car, Lorena felt a little better. She turned on the music, started the engine and drove off. But all the way to the medical centre, she couldn't stop thinking about Tyler. Strangely, she wasn't thinking about what to do next. Those thoughts came later. Instead, she found herself remembering the beginning of their relationship. Lorena and Tyler first met at a mutual friend's party. Lorena was a senior medical student at the time, while Tyler had already graduated from university a couple of years earlier and was working as a programmer at a large firm. Lorena noticed him right away. He wasn't trying to be the centre of attention, but made witty remarks at just the right moments. Unlike the other guys, he barely drank and was quite handsome, tall, dark-haired and fit. "He's a hottie, isn't he?" The birthday girl nudged Lorena and winked conspiratorially. "Want me to introduce you?" Lorena panicked and protested. She wanted to get to know the handsome guy better, but not like this, not through a setup. That evening, Lorena was the centre of male attention. The striking figure, bright blue eyes, chestnut shiny hair, cascading in soft waves below the shoulders. Lorena herself knew she was beautiful. At first the compliments and admiring glances from the guys were pleasant, but then they began to be overwhelming and even frightening. One of the admirers was particularly zealous. He constantly hovered around, telling her something, even trying to hug her. The guy had had a lot to drink. Lorena already didn't know how to get rid of him. Salvation came from an unexpected side. Tyler approached Lorena and looked her in the eyes with a smile. He, as it were, asked, "Has he bothered you enough?" The girl silently nodded with a smile, and Tyler held out his hand to her. "I thought you might need help," he said quietly when they found themselves outdoors. The sky was studded with bright stars, and it was quiet and very peaceful around. The silence was almost deafening after the din of the party, and from this, or from Tyler's closeness, the girl felt slightly dizzy. "Thank you. I didn't really know how to get rid of him anymore. Anyway, I don't want to go back there," Lorena confessed. "Well, as for me, I ended up there by chance. I don't even know the birthday girl, but I'm overjoyed that I was here today and met such a wonderful girl. I've been watching you all evening." Lorena felt herself blushing. She had often been complimented, and it was always pleasant, but Tyler's words filled the girl with some special warmth. The young people walked around the city, talked and laughed. Lorena felt as if she had known Tyler for 100 years. Relationships developed rapidly. With Tyler, Lorena felt truly calm and happy. She had never met such a deep, sincere and reliable person before. Unlike many guys Lorena knew, Tyler was kind and not ashamed of it. He never tried to appear brutal, macho or prove something to someone. The guy surprised Lorena with his domesticity from the very first days of their acquaintance. Unlike her, who had lived with her parents, he knew how to cook. In his 3-bedroom apartment, there was always order, while Lorena sometimes did not have time to clean up even in her own room. But the main thing was that Tyler understood Lorena. He subtly felt Lorena's mood, understood when she was tired or angry, and always knew how to cheer up the girl and lift her spirits. Lorena often noticed hidden sadness in the eyes of her beloved. Others did not see this. Tyler skillfully played the role of a carefree guy who had everything good in life, but Lorena knew what the matter was. Yes, Tyler's past turned out to be not easy. He was born to a mother who at that moment did not need a baby at all. Barbara, Tyler's mother, grew up in a well-to-do family. Her father was the top manager at the factory, and his mother was a primary school teacher, and they both were preparing a brilliant future for her. After school, she was supposed to enter a prestigious university, then go to work in the Ministry of Finance. His father had connections there, but Barbara, most of all, wanted to hang out with friends and have fun. She looked with envy at the companies of teenagers sitting at the entrances and singing songs to the guitar. She dreamed of being part of this fun crowd. But she couldn't rebel against her parents. If she could still somehow deal with her mother, her father, he kept his daughter in an iron grip. He was always afraid that she would follow in the footsteps of his eldest unsuccessful sister. Barbara didn't even know this aunt of hers, but they said she was a drinking woman who often changed lovers and didn't work anywhere. Barbara obeyed her parents, but secretly hated them. She waited for adulthood. Then she would finally gain her longed-for freedom, and no one would stop her any more. But Barbara gained her freedom earlier. When the girl was 13, her father had a heart attack right at work. The man could not be saved. Since then, the life of the family has changed a lot. There was no longer a strict father who could keep the freedom-loving Barbara at home with textbooks and a piano. There was no one to be afraid of. So it turned out that Barbara was left to her own devices. In the life of the teenage girl, there were now friends, alcohol, adventures, and romances. Everything she had long dreamed of. And after graduating, she declared to her mum, "I'll go to work. I'm sick of your studying." Barbara really got a job. At first, she tried her hand as a saleswoman, then worked as a baker's assistant. But it turned out that money is not so easy to come by. So the girl decided why to break her back. Mum feeds, gives clothes and roof, and there are always guys and men willing to pay her and entertain her for a small service. No matter how Barbara's mother tried to reason with her wayward daughter, nothing worked. Then one day, Barbara said to her mum, "I'm expecting a baby. The term, it turns out, is already decent. It cannot be interrupted. Do you have acquaintances who can help with this?" "What are you talking about?" her mother said, astonished. "This is a crime, and it's great harm to health. Now you have to give birth, since you have delayed so much." But Barbara did not want to give birth. She spent hours lying in a hot bath, trying to provoke a miscarriage, drinking herbal infusions, lifting weights, running up and down the stairs to exhaustion. Nothing helped. At term, despite Barbara's lifestyle and unwillingness to give birth, a healthy, strong boy was born in the maternity hospital. The new grandmother hoped that now her daughter would finally get her act together. And how else? But Barbara could no longer be corrected. Having got rid of the hated, heavy burden, the young woman immediately slipped away to friends and cavaliers. The baby, named Tyler, turned out to be unnecessary for her. He was raised by his grandmother. Since it didn't work out with her daughter, the woman took bringing her grandson up with redoubled energy. Tyler remembered that he lived peacefully and happily with his grandmother. He always studied well and behaved excellently at school. In high school, the guy became interested in programming. The grandmother took part of her savings and bought her grandson an expensive computer. After school, Tyler entered the Faculty of Information Technology. Studying was easy for him. He soon began to work part-time. But when the guy was in his 4th year, the closest and dearest person to him suddenly passed away. The heart of the not-yet-old woman did not bear it. Of course, worries about her daughter undermined her health. Tyler was in deep grief. He could not come to terms with the fact that there is not a single person on this earth who truly loves him. He secretly hoped that he would see his mother at the funeral, but Barbara never showed up. Gradually, life took its course. The guy graduated from the university, got a job, and new plans and desires, friends and entertainment appeared. Youth is youth. And then Tyler accidentally met Lorena and fell in love at first sight. That's the kind of story it was. And before this day, Lorena thought they had an ideal relationship. But now there was this Gwen. Lorena realised that she could not deal with the onslaught of emotions and feelings alone, and decided to call her best friend Sarah. If anyone could help her make sense of what had happened, it was her. Lorena could hardly wait until lunchtime. Work, of course, was a distraction, but anxious thoughts kept her from focusing on her patients' problems. She listened to them, made typical prescriptions, and recorded their complaints in their charts. But all she could hear was her husband's tender voice, cooing with some unknown Gwen. Finally, the lunch break arrived. Lorena immediately dialed her friend's number and poured out to Sarah everything she had overheard that morning. Are you sure you didn't make a mistake?" Sarah's voice sounded bewildered. "This doesn't sound like Tyler at all. It's difficult to even imagine. Anyway, don't rush into anything. First you need to figure out what's going on. Why don't you just ask him directly?" "Directly? I don't know. He'll start making excuses, come up with something. I want to gather evidence first, so I can be sure myself, and so he can't deny it." After talking to her friend, Lorena felt a bit lighter, her thoughts clearer. She would be more attentive now. She would catch the hidden signs, delays at work, the scent of women's perfume, secret text messages. What else do lovers have? Yes, Lorena was not ready to make any decisions right away. She needed to think everything through, prepare for the separation, and meanwhile, she would have to pretend that nothing was happening. Would she be able to pull it off? She would have to summon all her acting skills. It had to work. That evening, everything was as usual. Tyler had prepared dinner. He had worked from home all day, but he found the time to roast a chicken with potatoes and make a salad. The apartment greeted Lorena with tantalising aromas. Adam was already home. "And here comes our mum." Tyler smiled and hugged Lorena tightly. "Why such a face? You must be tired. Go take a bath, wash away the negativity, and I'll set the table in the meantime." Lorena forced a smile in response and went to the bathroom. She closed the door behind her and looked in the mirror. She wasn't much of an actress, that was clear. Her face bore an expression of universal grievance. Everything was obvious at once. But Tyler, on the other hand, was quite the actor. The picture of contentment. And those honest eyes. Everything as usual. Incredible. Maybe it really was all just a misunderstanding? She didn't want to believe that Tyler was a scoundrel and a traitor. Lorena took a shower, changed into a housecoat and went to the kitchen. What a delicious dinner! Lorena genuinely praised her husband. "I could never make it like this." "I love cooking for you." Tyler smiled broadly. "Why don't we go to the water park on Saturday?" Adam suddenly suggested. "We haven't been in so long." "We can't do it this weekend." Tyler shook his head, his eyes immediately filling with sadness. "Work, son. I need to work this weekend." "Figures." The boy pouted, looking sullen. Lorena remembered how her husband had promised the mysterious Gwen that he would visit her this weekend. If she hadn't overheard the conversation, she would have suspected nothing. Tyler had an irregular schedule. He was often called into the office on weekends, but now Lorena was sure. Her husband was planning to visit his mistress. That same evening, Lorena talked everything to Sarah. Follow him and see where he goes. I'll look after Adam, don't worry. I will wait near the entrance in the morning until he came out." "Thank you. Great idea. I'll follow him and see everything with my own eyes." In the morning, Tyler pretended to be getting ready for work. He drank his coffee, packed his laptop in his backpack, and put on pants and a shirt. While he was busy, Lorena slipped out of bed and pulled on jeans, a t-shirt and a sweater. She needed to leave the apartment right after her husband to avoid losing his trail. Over all this, she threw on a long housecoat, a disguise. As usual, Tyler kissed his wife goodbye, hugged her tenderly, and said he would miss her. What hypocrisy! He's going to see his mistress and putting on such a farewell scene. Sarah was already near, and as soon as Tyler got in the car, she slipped into the entrance. As Lorena had expected, Tyler drove past his office. Too bad, but she was prepared for this. Tyler turned onto a country road. Lorena hurried after him. Strange, did his mistress live in some village? Fields and plantations flashed by on both sides of the road. Tyler's dark blue SUV moved in the distance, barely visible. There were few cars on the road, so Lorena kept her distance. Tyler turned right and disappeared behind an oak grove. When Lorena's car reached the turn, Tyler's SUV was already entering the open gates. Behind the grove, in the middle of a field, stood a tall, pale green fence. Behind the high fence, the outlines of a grey 3-story building were visible. As the car entered the inner courtyard, the gates slowly closed. The structure looked like an impregnable fortress. This was not what Lorena had expected to see. She parked her car behind the bushes, not daring to approach any closer, and feeling frightened. What had he gotten himself into? Suddenly the mistress' story didn't seem so terrible. Something strange and incomprehensible was happening. Lorena finally made up her mind. She cautiously stepped out of the car and slowly approached the gate. There was a sign above the gates. Medical and Social Institution for Children with Special Needs. What did this mean? Lorena had even more questions now. Feeling confused, she returned to her car and decided to wait for Tyler and ask him directly. Lorena reclined in her seat and gazed up at the bright blue sky. Fluffy white clouds drifted across it. Some insects hummed in the air. It was beautiful here. Only the ugly building surrounded by a tall fence marred the view. 4 hours of waiting passed. Cars occasionally approached the building. Not many. Lorena counted about 5 or 6. They disappeared behind the gates, just like Tyler's SUV, but none of them re-emerged. The sun was already setting when the gates slowly opened again, and Tyler's SUV finally emerged. Of course, he noticed his wife parked behind the bushes, and pulling over to the side of the road, he stopped, got out, and walked slowly towards Lorena's vehicle, his eyes filled with sadness, his head bowed, and his shoulders slumped. It pained Lorena to see her usually cheerful husband in such a state. Although she had always noticed this sadness in his eyes, even in the happiest moments, but she had thought it was because of his difficult history with his mother. But apparently there was something more. "Hi," Tyler said, embarrassed, as he sat down in the passenger seat. "Honestly, I didn't expect to see you here." "Tyler, please, tell me everything. You don't have to hide anything from me. I want to know what's going on. What is this place? Why did you come here?" "It's a long and complicated story. I'm confused and don't know what to do. I didn't want to burden you with all this. I thought I would protect you from unnecessary worries and problems. I'm not at peace myself, and I didn't want to trouble you." "We are a family," Lorena reminded him, and placed her hand over her husband's. Tyler sighed, but his eyes were no longer so sad, and the burden weighing on him seemed to lift a little. His shoulders straightened, and his voice became more confident. "Well, okay, there's no way out now. You would have to find out anyway. Who could have guessed that you have the spirit of Miss Marple in you?" Talking about Tyler's mother was always painful for his grandmother. Her eyes would dim, and her shoulders would slump. In those moments, she looked so unhappy that Tyler quickly changed the subject. One day, when Tyler was already at a high school, she called him for a serious talk and told him everything about her only daughter, Barbara. "Grandma, and how is Mum now? Is she alive?" "She's alive," the woman quickly replied. "She's alive, don't worry. She's doing well by her standards, living the way she always wanted." Tyler felt relieved. He had never known his mother. He understood that she had left him, rejected him, but the thought that this woman might no longer be alive was somehow frightening. Tyler had never seen her in his conscious years. His grandmother showed him childhood and teenage photos of Barbara, so in Tyler's mind, his mother was a cheerful, pretty girl with unruly russet hair and laughing eyes. "Do you communicate with her?" Tyler asked another question that bothered him greatly. The boy understood that he needed to take everything from this candid conversation. There might not be another opportunity. It was clearly difficult for his grandmother to recall memories of her daughter. "It can't be called communication," the woman answered. "I know where she is. It's a small town where we used to live. My old acquaintances sometimes tell me how Barbara is doing. Everything is relatively normal there. She drinks, of course, but other than that, she's fine." Tears welled up in Tyler's eyes. He suddenly felt truly abandoned and unwanted. "I can't upset Grandma. There's no need to be sentimental now. Think about something else," he thought, and with a tearful smile. "Enough about the sad things. I've found out everything I need to know. I have a mother, but she wanted to start a new life. That's all." From that day forward, Tyler often thought about his mother. What does she look like now? What does she do? Who does she live with? And most importantly, does he have any brothers or sisters? Time flew by quickly. Before he knew it, Tyler enrolled in a university, studying information technology, but thoughts of his mother never left the young man. He firmly decided that sooner or later he would find her. And then, what he had feared all his conscious childhood happened. His grandmother did not survive another heart attack. The young man took the loss very hard. He withdrew into himself, stopped communicating with friends. During this time, thoughts of his mother haunted him constantly. She was the only family he had left in the world. Tyler felt an overwhelming urge to find her. One day, he made up his mind. In the morning, Tyler went to the train station and bought a ticket to the town where he knew his mother lived. It was time to meet her and get answers to important questions. He couldn't stay in the dark any longer. Whatever happens, happens. The station was deserted. Here it was, the town where his mother lived. A small, sleepy place that looked more like a large village. Tyler knew his mother's address. He had found it in his grandmother's thick notebook. The woman meticulously wrote down important things: birthdays of friends and relatives, phone numbers, dates of doctor's visits. Tyler asked for directions to the station. It turned out to be not far. Great. He would take a walk, stretch his legs a bit and gather his thoughts. He desperately hoped that his mother would welcome him warmly. She would cry, apologize, explain why she hadn't shown up all these years. Maybe she had been ashamed. Tyler, of course, would forgive her. He held no grudge against the woman who had left him and run away. She had been very young and inexperienced. Perhaps she regretted her actions now. And there it was, the house he was looking for. A leaning fence, a cluttered garden overgrown with tall grass, peeling paint on the walls. And what was wrong with the roof? Had it leaked? How could anyone live like this? Tyler cautiously knocked on the gate. Somewhere deep in the garden, a dog barked lazily. And then silence. "Come on in, young man, don't be shy," an old woman from the neighbouring yard called out to him, friendly. "Barbara never locks her gate. Are you from social services? Or maybe the press?" "From social services," Tyler replied, glad he didn't have to come up with an explanation himself. Tyler entered the yard of the house where his mother lived. His heart pounded dully in his chest, and his mouth felt dry. Everywhere he looked there were signs of neglect. In the corner, behind a blackened, leaning wooden outhouse, with a door that wouldn't close, there was a makeshift dump. Broken furniture, plastic and glass bottles, some shards, food packaging. Deep in the overgrown garden, he could see a small old house. The door was half open, either broken or the owner was expecting someone. Or maybe she just wasn't used to locking it. Tyler entered the dark room. It smelled of dust, dirt and mould, and there was a strong smell of stale alcohol in the air. It was an unpleasant place. The floor hadn't been cleaned in years, covered in a layer of sand and dust. Bottles were scattered everywhere. The old, dried-out furniture was covered with dirty rags. Tyler couldn't help but remember his grandmother's clean apartment. She cleaned it herself every day and had taught her grandson to do the same. Tyler thought about the conditions he would have grown up in if he had stayed with his mother. And for the first time, a thought flashed through his mind. Maybe it was all for the best. Maybe it was good that the party-loving young woman had left her son with her mother and run away. Tyler walked into the large room that served as the living room. On the sofa, covered with a crumpled and clearly unwashed sheet, a woman was dozing. The young man recognized her immediately. It was Barbara from the photograph, only much older and with the signs of a dissolute life on her face. His mother opened her eyes, probably sensing that someone had come in. She looked at the stranger, but showed no fear. Barbara struggled to her feet and looked at the visitor questioningly, clearly expecting an answer. Tyler had imagined this first meeting many times, But now he just looked at the woman standing before him and couldn't find the words. The young man didn't know that in a brief moment one could experience such a storm of emotions. Pity, disgust, contempt, fear. The woman looked like the marginal types Tyler sometimes encountered on the streets of his city, emaciated, with a puffy face of an earthy colour, small, watery, sunken eyes, dishevelled, thin hair, hastily tied in a stubby ponytail, broken, dirty, yellowish nails on calloused hands. "Who are you?" the homeowner finally asked. Her voice was hoarse and very much like a crow's cawing. Tyler was at a loss. "If you're from the guardianship, get out of here," Barbara declared resolutely. There was a threat in her eyes. "Everything is fine with us." "I'm Tyler," the young man finally managed to say. "Tyler, your son. Don't you recognize me?" "I see." The woman lowered her eyes as if pondering something. Tyler decided that she might be feeling ashamed and patiently waited for her to continue. "So, Tyler, that's what you look like. All grown up. An adult. You came because of the inheritance, right? We need to sign some papers. Part of my mother's apartment is mine, as you know. I was going to come to you myself. I need the money so badly, as you can see." Tyler looked at his mother in amazement. So she knew that her mother was dead, and she did not come to her funeral, did not want to see her son, who was all alone in the world. What kind of person is she? And she still hopes for some inheritance. But the granny had taken care of that in advance. "I'm not here about the inheritance," Tyler declared. "I just wanted to see you. We're not strangers, after all." "What about the inheritance?" Barbara asked eagerly. There was hope in her eyes. Tyler silently shook his head. "Grandma left the apartment to me." "I just knew it," Barbara said with annoyance. "The old witch never loved me. So why did you come here anyway?" "I have some questions for you." Tyler finally regained full control of himself, shedding his illusions. There would be no familial warmth, love, or remorse. His mother was a selfish person, focused only on her own pleasures. "Get out of here with your questions!" Barbara waved her hand dismissively. She was clearly upset by the news that she wouldn't get anything from her mother's inheritance. "I have the right to know," Tyler insisted. "Who is my father?" "I don't know myself," Barbara answered honestly. "I was popular with men back then. I had such admirers. Not like now. One of them must be your father, but I can't even remember his name now." "And why? Why did you abandon me?" "Can't you figure it out yourself?" Barbara snapped, her eyes flashing with anger. "I wasn't even 20. I wanted to have fun, to live life to the fullest. And then pregnancy. I hated you from the moment I found out you existed inside me." Tyler found it difficult to listen to this confession. "But I was quite satisfied when this old witch had taken all the care about you. I had money, plenty of admirers, and no one to nag or reproach me. Freedom! How happy I was to be free, without you, without a mother who always demanded something from me. It was such bliss." Tyler blinked in confusion. He already regretted coming here. And then something completely unexpected happened. There was a strange rustling behind the living room door, and a small, thin, dirty creature with tangled, matted hair appeared in the room. It was a little girl. She didn't walk into the living room, but literally crawled in. The child skillfully used her arms to move quickly, and her legs looked too weak and thin compared to the rest of her body. Tyler instantly forgot all the horrible things he had just heard from his mother. What kind of children could live in such filth and neglect? The little girl looked at the guests with curiosity and, it seemed, hope. Tyler rushed to her and lifted the girl from the cold, dirty floor. She trustingly wrapped her thin arms around his neck and suddenly smiled. The young man recognized that smile. It was his smile. "Who is this?" he asked Barbara, although he already knew the answer. "Your sister Gwen," Barbara muttered. "I had the operation after you, so I wouldn't have any more children, but she was born anyway." "What's wrong with her?" Tyler couldn't take his eyes off his little sister. A storm of emotions raged in his chest. His heart was filled with tenderness and pity for this skinny, grimy little girl. "She's disabled, has cerebral palsy, was born that way, and she's mentally challenged," Barbara said. Tyler felt a surge of anger. Poor sister. Not only had she lost her health due to her mother's lifestyle, but she also lived in such inhumane conditions. He had to save her. He couldn't leave his sister in this horrible place. "I'm taking her with me," Tyler declared, looking sternly at his mother. "That's none of your business. Give me the girl," Barbara demanded, approaching him. "Why? She needs care, treatment, activities, and you don't do any of that. She'll perish with you." "Get out of here," Barbara said. "Want to help her? Give me money. I'll buy her medicine, sweets, but she'll live with me." "Why?" Tyler repeated his question. "The benefits for her are good, as for a disabled child." A voice said from the doorway. Tyler turned and saw the neighbour who had advised him to enter the yard. "Get out of here!" Barbara was clearly losing her temper. "My name is Mrs. Scott, and I thought you were really from social services, or the guardianship authority," the woman said to Tyler. "I thought they had finally reacted to our report." "It's none of your business. Get out of here, all of you. I'll call Jack. You'll all be sorry," Barbara threatened. "Don't threaten us with your bully," the neighbour advised, and added, looking at Tyler, "Let's go." "But what about her? How can we leave her?" The young man looked helplessly at his little sister. "It's okay. She's lived here for 9 years. She can wait a little longer. I'll help you. We need to act differently here," the woman said. 9 years? Gwen looked much younger. Tyler sat her down in a chair and knelt in front of her so that their eyes were at the same level. Mrs. Scott and Barbara were arguing, but Tyler wasn't paying attention to their words. "Gwen, listen to me. I'm your big brother, and I'm going to take you away from here. Do you want to live somewhere else?" Tyler asked. "Yes," the little girl smiled and added, "It's bad here. I'm scared." "I'll take you away as soon as possible." Tyler stroked the little girl's tangled hair. His heart ached at the thought of having to leave her with her mother for even a little while longer, but there was no other way. Later, Tyler and the compassionate Mrs. Scott went straight to the city and managed to get a meeting with the head of the guardianship and trusteeship department. "If you don't act now, we'll go to the TV stations," Mrs. Scott threatened. "It's such a joy. The girl's brother has been found. Such a good, positive young man. He'll raise Gwen, and they'll ruin her there." "We'll look into it," promised the woman in stylish glasses, making notes in her thick planner. Mrs. Scott's calculation turned out to be only half correct. Gwen was, of course, taken away from her mother. Barbara was stripped of her parental rights. But Tyler could not obtain guardianship over his sister. He was too young, his official income was insufficient, and he was single and alone. The commission considered that the young man would not be able to cope with raising a child, especially a disabled one, who required intensive treatment and rehabilitation. Thus, Gwen ended up in a house for children with special care, though conditions there were excellent. The place had spacious bedrooms, playrooms, good food, mountains of toys and books, developmental activities, medical care, and a friendly staff. Gwen blossomed. She always greeted her brother with a joyful smile, hugged him tightly, and shared her news. But the man still felt guilty for not being able to keep his promise. He hadn't taken his sister home. He was doing everything he could to make that moment come sooner. He found official work, even though it was hard for a student. He set up a separate bedroom for Gwen in his apartment, but no one was rushing to give a disabled girl to a single young man. The diagnosis of mental retardation was not confirmed in the orphanage. It turned out that it was all due to educational neglect. Gwen, due to her illness, did not communicate with her peers. Her mother did not engage with her, did not take her daughter to kindergarten, let alone clubs. But in the orphanage, Gwen quickly caught up. However, her cerebral palsy, of course, did not go away. Rehabilitation specialists managed to improve the situation slightly, but there was no talk of removing the disability. Tyler searched for the best specialists for his sister, even bought an expensive exercise machine for the orphanage, which was necessary for his sister's exercises. He spent every weekend at the orphanage. The brother and sister got to know each other better and grew closer. Now Tyler was grateful to his mother for giving birth to Gwen. He had a wonderful little sister. The girl did not feel abandoned. Her brother was always by her side. She liked the orphanage, and yet Tyler still dreamed of taking Gwen out of the institution as soon as possible. But to achieve this, he needed to get married. The young man even considered a fake marriage. He looked for a suitable woman to formalize the relationship, take Gwen, and then get divorced. The wise Mrs. Scott dissuaded him from this risky step. "You are young and naive. They will wrap you around their finger and take your property when you divorce. People can be like that. Wait, don't rush. Gwen is doing well there. Doctors are taking care of her, and she's getting better. And you don't have the time or experience. You'll meet a good girl, fall in love, get married, and then take the girl." "And what if my wife doesn't like the fact that I have a sister who needs care? What then?" Tyler asked. "That will be a test of humanity." Then Tyler met Lorena and fell in love at first sight. He had never experienced anything like it before. When the young man found out that his feelings were mutual, he was overjoyed. Tyler cherished their budding relationship and was very tender with Lorena, so he did not dare to tell her about his sister. He was afraid that it would scare the girl away. Then there was the wedding, and Adam was born. Tyler felt joy and pride in having a family, but he had to lead a double life. He did not dare to tell Lorena about his sister. What if she feared the difficulties, and most importantly, Tyler wanted to protect Lorena from heavy thoughts and the need to burden her fragile shoulders with such responsibility. Tyler continued to visit Gwen every weekend. Of course, now he was a family man, and the meetings with his sister became less frequent and shorter, but Tyler tried not to miss these visits, as Gwen was waiting for him, and was very upset if her brother could not come. She missed him. "I live between a rock and a hard place, and couldn't get the courage to tell you everything. And now you found out all this yourself," Tyler concluded, looking at his wife. "You are so kind. Good, but completely silly," Lorena sighed. She gently patted Tyler on the cheek. "I'm in shock from everything I've heard, but how could you think that I would be scared?" I really want to meet your sister. Her place is in our family, and only there. She must be a wonderful child. She is sick, you understand? She is not just a child. Gwen is a disabled child. And I am a doctor, remember? I fully understand the difficulties and prospects. Let's meet her, right now. Lorena, I am so lucky with you. I am the lucky one with you, Lorena smiled. She truly believed that. Tyler was smart, kind, gentle, and caring. The woman valued these qualities in her husband, and the story with his sister convinced Lorena once again that she had not made a mistake with her husband. What is her size? Lorena asked suddenly. Clothing size. My dad's birthday is coming up soon. We will all go together, the 4 of us. Gwen should look like a real princess. Tyler smiled and hugged Lorena. His wife was right. He was indeed silly. How light and warm his heart felt now. And it could have been like this a long time ago.